Thank you, Vasu. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call to order a regular meeting of the Normal Town Council. Please call the roll.
Mayor Coos. Mr. McCarthy.
Here.
Ms. Cummings. Mr. Nord.
Here.
Ms. Smith.
Here.
Mrs. Lorenz.
Here.
Mr. Preston.
Here. Before we proceed, I'd like to read a statement. The governor has issued a disaster declaration related to the public health concerns caused by a statewide COVID-19 pandemic. As Mayor Pro Tem, I've determined that an in-person meeting is not practical or prudent because of the risk of exposure to the COVID-19 virus stemming from an indoor gathering, and that the remote meeting is in the best interest of the health, safety, and welfare of the council, staff, and general public. Of which Mayor Coos is not feeling well this evening, so I'm standing in for him tonight as Mayor Pro Tem. And now please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Honker, I understand we have some public commenters this evening.
We do. We have three.
Three public commenters. And we'll go ahead and let the first public commenter in. Do we have them on the line in the meeting?
Yes.
I have just added Joe and Gary Company to the meeting, and I am unmuting them now.
Excellent. I'd just like to remind you that you have up to 3 minutes for your comment. And if you would please state your names for the record. Do we have them online?
Joe.
Hello. Yes. Hello.
Hello.
Hi there.
I'd just
Can you
like
hear
to, maybe you didn't hear my earlier salvo, so I'll say it again just to make sure you've got the directions. I just want to remind you that you've got up to 3 minutes for your comment. And if you would please tell us your names for the record tonight.
Good. My name is Joe Company, and I am ready to go.
Excellent. Mr.
Okay.
Company, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to speak with you guys regarding the resolution to waive bids, authorizing the staff to execute an agreement with the HEI Active and eHealth for employee wellness services. My name, like I said, is Joe Company. I co-own a business with my wife, Carrie Company, and we own the business Wellness Data Solutions. We've been in business for over 6 years, and we're located here in Bloomington Normal. Our business focuses on collecting, analyzing, and translating biometric data for employees and employers. Over the last 6 years, we've invested in local IT businesses to grow our own technology so we can accommodate large data collections, provide instant results via our corporate dashboard, and deliver customized output sheets for our employees or employees of the businesses we work with. Our platform allows us to not only manage biometric data, but present it to employees so employers can make strategic beneficial changes to reduce lifestyle disease risk, improve health, and save money. We continually see 95 to 100% engagement within our clients' employees populations, and also see a reduction in population risk and show cost savings for the employer. As business owners and taxpayers in the Bloomington Normal community, we respectfully request that the Employee Wellness Services decision be delayed so competitive bids can be evaluated. The services that the town of Normal is requesting is exactly what our business provides, yet we had no knowledge of the town searching for a new wellness vendor. In fact, we met with the town of Normal in February 2019 to discuss our services and to see if the town of Normal would be interested in our services at the current time or in the future. We met with Jenny Keeger, the Director of Human Services, and her colleagues. After our meeting, Jackie emailed my wife and I, Carrie, and said, quote, "We appreciate all the excellent information that you and Joe shared with us. It was valuable for us to get a feel for your health management philosophy and style. We'll certainly stay in touch and keep you in the loop as our wellness needs grow, change, and develop. It's a great benefit to have you in our backyard," end quote. Later in 2019, I spoke with Pam Reese on the telephone and explained our approach to corporate wellness, the benefits we can provide the town of Normal and other businesses in the town, and mentioned our struggles to gain an audience in Normal. She noted that the town of Normal already had a wellness provider, but would keep us in mind if and when the town's needs changed. It's of great concern that, even after talking directly with the author of this resolution, Jackie, and a reviewer of this resolution, Pam, that we still weren't given consideration or notification about the town of Normal searching for wellness services. My concern transcends our own desire to be offered the chance to bid on the wellness bid for the town of Normal. It carries over to all small businesses trying to gain some traction in our community. Our goal is to stay here in Bloomington Normal and grow our business and invest in this community. But how are we supposed to feel invested in a community when that community doesn't give us the opportunity for local business for us to service local businesses? All we ask for is a chance to offer our services to the town of Normal. Thank you for your time.
Kevin, I'm sorry, you were muted.
Thank you. Who's next on our agenda for public comment?
Next public commenter is Jackie Byer, and she is in.
All right. I just wanted to remind you that you have up to 3 minutes for your comment, and if you would please share your name for the public record.
She may not have heard that, Mayor. While they were letting her in, there may have been a little delay.
Ms. Byer, are you with us?
She's in the Zoom meeting. She just has not unmuted.
Ms. Byer, if you can hear us, go ahead and unmute. And just to remind you that you have up to 3 minutes for your comments this evening. And if you would, please share your name for the public record.
Hi, this is Jackie Byer. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Please go.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
So I am Jackie Byer, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. I live in Bloomington, but provide a lot of income to the town of Normal through the sales taxes that I pay. My property taxes also fund the Unit 5 school district. I would like to express my support for the men and women of the police department who tirelessly serve the community day in and day out. I'm encouraged to see the resolution tonight to increase the wages of the police officers. In the wake of local pressures to defund the police, I hope it is indicative of the full support of the council. As a taxpayer, I want my tax dollars to go towards a fully funded police force, not one whose budget is decreased. As part of their defunding police demands, BLM Blono is demanding that ties to the school district are severed and the resource officers in our schools be removed. I would like to share some of the things that I know Resource Officer Jeremy Flood does at NCHS and why we need resource officers in our schools. Officer Flood is there to protect our children, the educators, and the administration. He is the one who will run towards a gunman if, God forbid, there is another shooting at NCHS. He is there to meet buses at school when a bus driver calls ahead and says there is a disturbance on his or her bus. He ensures the safety of all the students and the bus driver. He is there if a student arrives to school with a weapon. He is there to proactively diffuse any potential conflict between students as discovered by the police's monitoring of social media. He actively works towards developing positive relationships with students. He works with Andrew Bennett for Project Oz, who serves as a school youth specialist. Officer Flood remains aware of any potential unsafe situations that students may face at home. He monitors the cameras in the school to ensure the hallways and parking lots are safe. He is there to be the first responder of any potential serious threats to student and adult safety until backup arrives. He is there to provide a presence that shows that there will be legal consequences if anyone commits a crime on school property. He is properly trained to handle physical altercations that most teachers hide in their classrooms from, altercations that teachers are afraid to get involved in because there is a chance they could get hurt, since other teachers have gotten hurt. Altercations in which students yield too much power to potentially destroy a teacher's career by editing video out of context and spreading hate over social media. Altercations that would result in serious injuries of students if an adult doesn't intervene. Officer Flood injured his shoulder while breaking up a fight among a group of students and was on disability for, I believe, 6 months. He performs selfless acts of service every single day and is ready to put his life on the line for the students and staff of NCHS if the need should ever come, just as any other resource officer does for the schools in the district. When police are described as a target by a local activist and Bloomington City Council member, and then her comment is supported by an NCHS teacher, it is clear that BLM Blono's demand to defund the police is being used as a weapon and punishment towards the police and not directed towards the safety and security of our children and adults. Defunding the police in our community is utterly irresponsible, ill-willed, and reckless, and even more so when it is directed at the safety provided in our schools by resource officers. If you share my support for all of our police officers, I invite you to attend the Back the Blue rally being held on Sunday, August 30th at GE Union Park, and I hope to see you there. Thank you for listening.
And our final speaker, public commenter for the evening. Can we let that person in?
They are admitted. Let's just give them a moment to see if they can unmute. This is Becky Swan.
Can you hear us, Ms. Swan?
Circuit program in 2020, just to be clear, because the extra expired.
Ms. Swan?
Yes.
I just want to remind you that you have up to 3 minutes for your public comment tonight. And if you would please state your name for the record, if you would please.
Hi, my name is Becky Swan. Well, sorry, what was the other thing that you said for me to do other than my name?
You have up to 3 minutes to make your comment tonight, so go ahead.
Okay. Actually, I have a question for each one of the council members and Mayor Kuth. Are you in favor of defunding our police?
Ms. Swan, we don't respond to questions. You have up to 3 minutes to make a statement. You certainly can pose a question, but no members of the council will respond to you to see. I want to let you know about the procedures.
Okay. So did you not like the question? Did you want me to ask a different question? I actually wasn't told when I was given the information that I couldn't ask the question. In fact, what I was told was to go ahead and place my questions inside the email to, I believe her name was Angie, so that you guys would know what my question was. She approved my questions and gave me the call-in number, the meeting ID, and here I am. So was I misled by Angie that your council members will not answer the question, who is in favor of defunding the police? Was I misled by Angie? And I'm sorry, who are you again? What was your name? I didn't catch your name.
Ms. Swan, my name is Kevin McCarthy. I'm the Mayor Pro Tem. Mayor Kuss is ill tonight, and so he's not here this evening. Our public comment, I can't speak to your conversation with Ms. Honker, but the public comment format that everyone follows is you have up to 3 minutes to make a statement. So you certainly can pose your questions or read your questions, and we're all on here and we'll be able to hear and listen, but nobody will be responding to public comment tonight.
All right, I'm not sure how much time I have left. Angie said, are you requesting to address the council at tonight's meeting or requesting a link to view the meeting? If you're requesting to address the council, can you tell me what agenda item you would like to address? I told Angie that my agenda item that I'd like to address is whether or not the city council members of the Normal City Council are in favor of supporting the Normal Police Department, or are they in favor of defunding and abolishing our police department. Thank you for your quick response from Angie. You will receive an email from our IT staff, which I did. Here I am. Kevin, are you in favor of defunding the Normal Police Department?
Again, Ms. Swan, we're not going to answer any questions right now. If any member of the council is so inclined to respond during their comments at the end of the meeting, they're more than welcome to do that.
I don't think
in the
that
public comment,
we have the 3 minutes yet. Mr. McCarthy, Stan Nord, are you in favor of defunding the police department?
we're not going to answer that tonight.
Not going to answer that. Kimberly Cummings, are you in favor of defunding the police department? Catherine Smith, are you in favor of defunding the police department? Scott Peterson, are you in favor of defunding the Normal Police Department? Kathleen, I apologize. Lawrence, are you in favor of defunding the Normal Police Department? And Mayor Chris Coos, I understand that you aren't here, but are you in favor of defunding the police department, sir? I guess my time is up. Thank you for evading the question. Thank you for the fact that I was misled about.
All right, we'll move on to the rest of the agenda. And that brings us to the omnibus vote agenda for this evening. All items under the omnibus vote agenda are considered to be routine in nature and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests to remove an item from the agenda, and that item will be discussed separately. And Ms. Cummings.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. I would like to remove item F from the omnibus agenda.
Okay. All right. A reminder to everybody to please lower their hand when they're done. Mr. Nord.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. I would like to remove items B, C, and D.
To be clear, that was B, C, and D, Mr. Nord?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And if you'll lower your hand, Mr. Nord, thank you. Do I have a motion?
I move the omnibus agenda.
Second.
And
I have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mayor Pro Tem, I think you want to identify the items that they're going to be voting on.
Thank you very much, Ms. Reese. And so tonight on the omnibus vote, we are approving the minutes of the regular council meeting of August 3rd, 2020. We are approving a resolution approving a water service contract with Michael Mashing for property located at 4252 East Reb Road in Normal. Please call the roll.
Ms. Cummings,
Aye.
Mr. Nord,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
aye.
Mrs. Lorenz,
Aye.
Mr. Preston,
Aye.
Mr. McCarthy.
Aye. And the motion carries. And the next item up is item B, a report to receive and file town of Normal expenditures for payment as of August 12th, 2020. Mr. Nord.
I so move.
Second.
Mr. Nord.
Thank you. This is relating to an item on PDF page 17, Parks and Rec. There's a bulk permit that we paid $5,000 for. Back on March 2nd, that council meeting, we had paid $4,000 for a bulk permit. Ms. Reese, we had talked before or had questions before. I brought up that with my background in working for printing companies and dealing with bulk permits and bulk mail, that we may potentially be able to use the printers in DISHA instead of paying for our own. And you had said that you would closely monitor and evaluate for future bulk mailings. Why are we paying for an indicia again?
Mr. Nord, this is a matter of policy. Ms. Reese, excuse me for just 1 second. Just a reminder, we're not going into policy issues as a report to receive and file. And as a reminder, last time we had this discussion, Mr. Nord, we changed this agenda item specifically. If you have policy questions, absolutely, but make sure that we're not diving into a policy about operations, because that's not the point here. Ms. Reese, thank you.
Do you want me to respond?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Nord, I shared with you this afternoon that I didn't really have time today to dig into our bulk mail permits, and that I would check into it and get back to you tomorrow. I guess the answer is still the same as what I told you this afternoon. I can tell you that the cost of the actual mail permit is $250, or $240, something like that. So I assume the $5,000 and the $4,000 are actual postage costs. But again, as shared this afternoon, I was dealing with other things that I didn't have time to explore our mail permit. And as I promised, I will get you information tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. And if it turns out that we don't need to be buying an indicia, then, let's investigate other options. Thank you.
Okay, I will share that the mail permit is used organization wide, and between all of our departments, we do mail quite a few things. So
sure, but this is for pre-printed items. This isn't for mail that's onesie twosie items.
Yeah, correct. But we also have a utility billing business as well. So we send a lot of things out in the mail. I understand, but as I shared, I'll get you information tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had.
Anything further on this item? Seeing no further hands, please call the roll.
Mr. Nord,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Ms. Lorenz,
Aye.
Mr. Preston,
Aye.
Ms. Cummings,
Aye.
Mr. McCarthy.
Aye. And the motion carries. That brings us to item C, resolution authorizing the renewal of the employee group health, dental, life, AD&D program. Mr. Nord.
I so move.
Second.
Mr. Nord.
Thank you. For public education and to refresh my memory, do town employees, not their spouse or children, but do town employees pay for their health and dental insurance, or is this a free benefit to them?
Our employee benefits program for single coverage, if you participate in wellness, it is paid at 100% for single coverage.
Paid by the taxpayers, by the employer?
By the employer.
Okay. Then does this also extend to servant employees as well? Do they fall under this?
Well, I've answered that question many times before. The answer is still the same, Mr. Nord. They are considered town employees. So
okay,
nothing has changed since we last discussed this.
Sure. Now, a lot of this is for public education, and it's been brought up time and time again to wait until we have that conversation about insurance to bring this up. And now we're having the conversation about insurance. So this seems to be the appropriate time.
Okay.
In the write-up, it says that several large claimants, and then it talks about how these claimants may have claims over $150,000. Could you explain how, if one of these claimants happens to be a servant employee who is supposed to be reimbursing the town for all expenses, how taxpayers can be assured that we are being reimbursed?
Well, Mr. Nord, that situation doesn't change from the last time we talked about it. For someone to pay their claim, as a reminder, Serban consists of 3 individuals. If we were going to pull out the individual claims of 3 people and expect those 3 people to be charged back, or even Serban to be charged back and pay those claims, that defeats the purpose of insurance. So, and not only that, but it also would certainly fly in the face of HIPAA. So I don't know what answer you keep looking for. I keep giving you the same information. Serban reimburses for premiums. Sometimes people have claims. Sometimes they pay their premiums and not have claims. You know,
Sure.
that's what insurance is. So
Well,
if you're asking for us to request that claims be paid back by someone, then there would be no value to insurance. So I'm not sure how to handle that because we've addressed that many, many times.
okay, the issue is the town is not buying insurance. The town is acting as the insurer. The town pays all claims. We are self-insured. And
Mr. Nord,
Serban, the agreement with Serban,
Mr. Nord, this question's been asked and answered. Please move on if
Okay.
you have no questions on this one.
the agreement with Serban says that the town is supposed to be reimbursed all costs. Are we able to meet that agreement?
Point of order. Is this an appropriate time for discussion of this particular item related to this agenda piece?
No, we're actually talking about approving or not approving whether or not the policy of who gets included or not is not part of this agenda item.
Is
Well,
the
I
town,
disagree, but sorry.
is the town attorney able to shed some clarity as to whether or not this off discussion is appropriate for this agenda item? Mr. Day?
There he is.
Sorry, took me a second to find the right buttons. The motion on the floor is approval of the entire renewal of the employee group health dental insurance. Has nothing to do with Serban in particular. I think it's the chair's call as to whether something is out of order or not with respect to any discussion on that topic.
If that's the case, I'd like to call for a vote.
Call for the question, or call the question.
Yes.
All right, we have a motion to call the question. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, call to the question will take 5 votes.
Okay, so I call a roll on the call to question.
Correct.
Ms. Honker, please call the roll.
Ms. Smith,
You're muted, Ms. Smith.
Aye.
Mrs. Lorenz,
Aye.
Mr. Preston,
Aye.
Ms. Cummings,
Aye.
Mr. Nord,
No.
Mr. McCarthy.
Aye. Call the question carries. Which brings us back to the original agenda item. Please call the roll.
Mrs. Lorenz,
Aye.
Mr. Preston,
Aye.
Ms. Cummings,
Aye.
Mr. Nord,
Nay.
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. McCarthy.
Aye. And the motion carries. That brings us to item D, a resolution waiving bids and authorizing staff to execute an agreement with HCI Active and eHealth for employee wellness services. Mr. Nord.
I so move.
Second.
Mr. Nord.
In regards to the speaker that spoke at public comment, I'd kind of like to hear from Ms. Reese about if local businesses were included and kind of response to that public comment.
Sure. And first of all, I do want to introduce that on the call this evening, we have Human Resources Director Jenny Kier, as well as our team from the Horton Group, Mike Wojak, Beth Ishmael, and Laura Szanski. And they are certainly available to answer any questions that council may have specifically about our wellness program and the vendor we are recommending. In this particular instance, yes, I actually do recall a phone conversation with Mr. Company a year, I don't exactly remember when, but he indicated it was a year or so ago, and I believe that to be true. We have in the past, before we went to Interactive Health is the vendor that we just ended our program with unexpectedly. And prior to Interactive Health, we actually worked with Advocate Broman for many, many years. So yes, we have had a local vendor as our partner for wellness. We went to Interactive Health a year and a half ago or so, and we have had a very robust wellness program actually since the early 2000s. And we are very proud of our program, specifically in this particular instance with the abrupt end to our Interactive Health service. Horton Group jumped in like they always do and took up the issue of who next could provide wellness services. I did not have a conversation with Mr. or Mrs. Company about this. I left that up to the broker and to Ms. Kier to address this issue. And so I will turn it over to Ms. Kier, who can actually talk a little bit more about why we are recommending HCI Active, if council would like to hear more about that story.
City Manager Reese. Yeah, so to your point, we have had a wellness program in place for a very long time. So we've got a good feel for what some of our needs were that were being met, both by Advocate Broman, Carl Broman now, and by Interactive Health. And we had a very good idea of where we wanted to go next. That being said, we did discuss some different options with the Horton Group. We made it very clear that we wanted to move the program forward in some specific ways. I'll invite Laura to chime in just a bit on this in one moment, but the thing that pushed the needle for us to kind of take the next step with HCI Active was that they have a very robust disease management component. We think that's a model that works, and we are really excited to try that with our group. Our group has historically extremely high engagement. And Laura, if you'd like to chime in just a little bit about disease management and what that looks like with HCI, I think that'll help here.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you, Jenny. My name is Laura Szanski. I'm the wellness supervisor at the Horton Group, and I have worked specifically on Town and Normal's case for, past 6 years probably. In talking with Jenny and the team at the town and understanding their goals of their program, what they've been successful with in the past, and what they've really enjoyed about the Interactive Health platform is what brought us to the determination that a partnership with HCI Active was going to be the best next step. One of our main reasons for moving in that direction, as Jenny mentioned, was their ability to offer disease management. The differential between a vendor that offers disease management and what we would consider a more traditional wellness screening vendor is their ability to connect through claims information. So we will be able to set up a partnership and an agreement with Blue Cross Blue Shield to be able to share medical claims and pharmaceutical data, in addition to the biometric screening component that we've always been able to receive, and use that aggregate information to make program decisions and be able to see program success and be able to look at risk migration throughout a wellness program. Layering in the claims and the pharmacy claims information is going to just be able to create that more robust and comprehensive picture when we can have more layers of claims information and data. With that, HCI Active has proprietary usage of the Johns Hopkins predictive analytic tool. And what that allows us to do is be able to input each individual raw data. Keep in mind, this is a third-party vendor, so we're able to input that data at that level. And they're able to have risk stratification across the board within the entire population that's participating. They're going to be able to segment out a high risk, a medium risk, and a low risk individual. And they are going to be able to do an outreach through their RNs. So they have specific health coaches. It's not outsourced. They're HCI active, trained, and current employees that will be reaching out to 100% of your high risk, and usually about the top 40% of your medium risk. To compare that to what traditional disease management offers, when we have it direct through a medical carrier, it's usually about 5 to 10% of the population. So we're getting a much higher level of engagement. And
Excuse me, Miss.
Sure.
Mr. Nord, point of order, please allow her to finish her statements. You have the opportunity to ask questions at the end. Thank you.
Well, she was answering my questions. That's what started this. I just didn't want to waste council's time because this isn't where I was going.
We'll allow her to finish her statement at least. Thank you.
Okay.
Sure. My point being, the disease management component is quite different from traditional wellness-based programs. And knowing that we wanted to continue the robust structure of the town's program, we felt that this vendor was being able to do that. And I'm happy to answer any further questions.
Thank you very much. Mr. Nord.
Sure, thank you. I have no doubt that the vendor that you've recommended is a very good vendor. More my question is, did you speak with this local company? Did you even know that they existed?
I have not spoken with them prior to today. That was the first time that I was aware of them. I was able to look at their website and do my best to see a comparison. From what I could tell from the website specifically, they do not offer any level of a disease management component. And that was the wishes from my conversations with the HR team within the town, that was a component to the wellness program that we wanted to have included.
Sure, but there was no conversation to verify that we know that that's accurate or not, or that that's true. But we talk about, as a council, our need for economic development and for helping local businesses. What this company is only asking is that we give them the opportunity to bid. And once they have that opportunity, then the town can determine whether or not they qualify, if they will offer services that will meet the need. Is there a immediate need that we have to decide on this tonight? Or are we able to delay this so that way we can at least talk with a local business?
Well, as always, staff will react to council's decision. I would say that there is a sense of urgency, as we don't have a wellness vendor right now. We have no wellness provider, and we are going into our fall season. And so it is important that we move forward. I will say, and as I've shared with other council members who've inquired about this process, we have a relationship with the Horton Group for a reason. They are our broker. They bring our vendors to the table. And in this particular instance, they haven't led us wrong yet. They certainly engage with all sorts of vendors, from a medical claims side of things like Blue Cross Blue Shield, to Delta Dental, to our life insurance vendor, et cetera, et cetera. So, they haven't steered us wrong. If council felt you didn't have enough information to make a decision in support of this issue tonight, we will certainly react and we will delay accordingly. But the Horton Group does have experience with numerous vendors, and they certainly know our program. So they brought to our attention the vendor that they believed best met our needs.
Sure.
So
And I'm not
that's why we're making that recommendation.
Yeah, and I'm not questioning their skill or their recommendation. This company that we had before, the packet said that they went bankrupt, or we were notified they were bankrupt back in June. So, it's been a while. I just think for relations with our business community and if we're really going to do what we say and care about local small businesses and emerging businesses, that I move that we table this and bring it back to the council after bids are sought, including local providers having the opportunity to bid.
Mr. Nord, I'm going to ask you to hold your motion. We've got several of your council counterparts that have their hands up and would like to comment on this. Ms. Smith.
Yes, as someone who still has active insurance licenses for public education, if I could ask the Horton Group to clarify their role as a broker and to what process they play in standardizing the wishes of a client and seeking carriers and providers that meet those criteria and soliciting bids, because although this says this is not competitive bid, in further reading of the packet, it does look as though there were 3 total vendors that you spoke with. So if someone could, from the Horton Group, could simply provide some clarity about the role of a broker in terms of the relationships that your firm establishes with carriers and other providers that are important to the clients you serve, and how you work to standardize the information provided to these vendors so that you can have some assurance that your clients are getting what they're asking for. Could you please address that topic, please?
If the group doesn't mind, I will comment on that, and thank you for allowing us to participate tonight. I'm Mike Wojcik. I'm the head of our public sector practice group that works with multiple municipalities and counties and districts around the Midwest. What we do in our role today is much greater than just a brokerage role. It's really kind of turned into a consultant / brokerage role. And we try to bring the best practices forward. Our motto is working with clients that have complex needs, limited resources, and help them achieve a higher level of performance. And we've been doing that for many years. We established our wellness division 14 years ago, far ahead of our competitors, far ahead of our peers. And Laura has taken the helm of that 6 years ago with bringing expertise to our clients. So what we do, for instance, even with your health renewal this year, we approach every year the marketplace of vendors that would be appropriate for your business. So we approach 16 different carriers, reinsurance, fully insured, TPAs, et cetera, to do the best job for you, to bring you the best options to the table. Laura did the same thing with the wellness when Interactive Health went out of business, and rather abruptly. It took everybody by surprise, quite a large company. Now HCI, it's a vendor that we use ourselves for our own group of employees. We have about 400 employees to kind of improve our employees' health, give them awareness to their health conditions. What we particularly like about it, Laura did a great job in explaining what their expertise was. Knowing your account for the years that we've worked with you, we've always tried to help you aspire to a higher level and bring you to that performance and bring the vendors in that would do that. So we do a pretty strong process of elimination of who could work with our clients and who will bring value to our clients. Our goal is to kind of achieve that performance that we promise you, and surround ourselves with the vendors that are going to do it. I'm not sure that answers your question. It's more performance. I mean, these vendors that we bring you are not new to our stable. We use many vendors. Laura probably has access to 6 to 12. Laura, you're going to have to correct me on that one, where you're at today. But again, we're constantly seeking new vendors to see if there's better performance. But if they can't do this integration, I mean, really wellness efforts on an employer level have really grown to a much higher place than where we were at with you 6 years ago. It's not the same service. I mean, this integration with John Hopkins and identifying high risk and low risk and medium risk to help your employees stay healthy and do some reach outs and coaching is quite unique. Not every vendor does that. Not every employer wants that, but you've grown to a level to really you should be there.
And I thank you for that clarification. And I do want to extend condolences to Mr. and Mrs. Company for their frustration in not being considered in this particular proposal. Having been in this field, I understand the importance of getting to the proper decision maker. And so I would encourage them to reach out to the Horton Group to make them aware of their services, because it sounds like this is a local company that would provide an expanded outlet for their services beyond just the town of Normal. And perhaps it would provide some clarity as to what the benefits are that this wellness group is providing, that, as the website at least indicates, the person who came to the public comment did not address whether or not that is included in their services. As to postponing this, because of the time frame from the end of June and 2 months without this oversight, there are chronic conditions that require ongoing oversight, and I would simply be reluctant to postpone delivering those services to town employees any further. Thank you. Lowering my hand.
You knew what I was going to ask. And I thought I had another hand, but I don't have another hand. All right.
I lowered mine, Mr. McCarthy. Ms. Smith covered my comments.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right. I guess as a comment, and one of the senior members of the council and being around for most of the wellness initiatives that we've had in the process. And I appreciated the clarification of the role of the Horton Group being a consultant and a broker. And so what that means for us as a self-insured community is that we're relying on their expertise to bring us a vendor match, a group of vendors that match the need. And I think they did a good job of pointing that out. And so certainly, we're paying them to do this for us. And so then to duplicate that effort obviously is highly inefficient and a waste of taxpayer dollars. Plus, they have expertise and ask people to do that. I certainly agree with Ms. Smith that if the companies feel that they have a service that is suitable and appropriate, to reach out to the Horton Group, our broker, and to engage in a conversation with them. It's pretty late in the game to be stopping our progress right now, but if that's a fruitful opportunity, I'm sure the Horton Group, as they've done very well for us so far, the vendors have done very well for us, and they've done a very good job managing cost, which is also a very important part of this conversation that hasn't happened yet. But I'm personally very pleased with the history that we've had with the group. Also, that I believe it was last year the Horton Group lowered their fee for these services to us. I think that's unheard of. I've Rarely have I seen that in 8 years of being on this council. Anybody actually charge us less money to do business with us. I'm fully supportive of this moving forward. And Mr. Nord.
Thank you. Before this meeting, I had communicated with both the chamber and the EDC about this issue. And the EDC has heard this from other businesses. They are working on putting together a website and some sort of solution, so that way local businesses who the town may not know about, both Bloomington and Normal, would be able to be identified. And we talked with even about possibly even the chamber,
Mr. Nord,
even the town contacting the chamber.
Keep your comments to the agenda item. I'm not.
This is directly with the agenda item, and I'm almost done.
I don't want to discount what you're about to say, and it sounds like it's an important service that's going to be out there. I would just ask you to put that in your comment at the end if it isn't specifically about this particular agreement.
It is specifically about it because this is something that businesses are watching. So if businesses are out there and they would like a better opportunity to be able to potentially do business with the town of Normal, they need to contact the chamber and the EDC, because those are the folks that should be advocating on behalf of business. And I will put my motion on the table. I move that this be tabled and brought back to the council after bids are sought, including inviting local providers in our community the opportunity to bid on this.
I'll second that motion so we can have a vote.
Any comment on the motion on the table? We have a motion to table and a second on the floor. Any discussion?
I need some clarification in the event this passes. The motion was actually a motion to table so we can bid, which we wouldn't bid out the services. So I'm not exactly sure what that means. Does that mean so that our broker can get more proposals? I guess I'm looking for some sort of explanation of what it is you're asking staff to do in the event this passes.
Are you asking me? Yes, then the motion would be for the broker, whomever it is you choose, to bid this out and include inviting local providers.
Do we have any further discussion? Mr. Lorenz. Mr. Nord, please mute.
Okay, I think this is a bit of a riddle here because of the outcome would go counter to a potential outcome would go counter to what we just discussed. The broker has done their due diligence to look across the industry of wellness and find the best match for us. I applaud any effort to promote our local businesses. In this case, I think what Mr. Nord may be suggesting is something to take up with our friends at the Chamber and the EDC. And that's not something that we should take up here for tonight's vote. What I hear Mr. Nord saying, I think, is that these other bodies, the Chamber and the EDC, maybe could do a more robust effort to give small businesses avenues to promote their business. Although I know that certainly the Chamber especially does a great job with many of their networking and certainly their email blasts and so forth. So I think that's really a part of their mission. I suppose there's always room for improvement. So in light of the fact that I think this is something that maybe is better dealt with within Chamber and EDC to improve processes for local businesses to get out their name, I would like to see that this motion be withdrawn because it's like I said at the top, it's a riddle. it's going to lead us to a dead end. And I really would like to request it be withdrawn.
Thank you. Mr. Day has a comment, I believe, on process here.
Hey, I just want to get us all on the same page with
Thank you.
respect to the motion. So we're back to our motion to table conundrum. Under Robert's rules, a motion to table is good for either later in the meeting or until the next regular meeting of the council. The other option is a motion to lay on the table, which effectively will kill this motion. I don't know whether Horton Group has the ability to run an RFP or any type of bidding process before our next regular meeting, but I think we need clarification on what exactly we're doing with respect to the tabling.
Mr. Nord, I believe that's a question to you about what specific direction for your table motion.
Table it till the next meeting, and if Horton Group needs an extension, they can ask for an extension then. But if we don't decide now, this is a 3-year contract that telling our local businesses we don't care about.
Table the next meeting. Okay. Do I have further comment on the motion to table until the next meeting? Please call the roll.
Mr. Preston,
No.
Ms. Cummings,
No.
Mr. Nord,
Yes.
Ms. Smith,
No.
Mrs. Lorenz,
No.
Mr. McCarthy.
No. Which brings us back to the original question on the resolution of waiving bids and authorizing staff to execute an agreement with HCI Active and eHealth for employee wellness. And seeing no comment, please call the roll.
Ms. Cummings,
Aye.
Mr. Nord,
No.
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Mrs. Lorenz,
Aye.
Mr. Preston,
Aye.
Mr. McCarthy.
Aye. And the motion carries. Which brings us to item F, which is a resolution authorizing the execution of a collective bargaining agreement with the Police Benevolent and Protective Association, PBA, Unit 22. Ms. Smith, or excuse me, Ms. Cummings.
Move for approval.
Second.
Ms. Cummings.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I guess I'm kind of taking a slight point of privilege if I can, because I'm not quite asking the question. I just wanted to bring clarity, as I know that we heard in public comment as well as in emails that I received. It is very important that people understand what is happening with this particular item tonight. This has nothing to do with the politicizing of whether to defund police or not. This is a process that comes up ever so often in order for us to make the appropriate adjustments to our police officers' pay. And that is pretty much on the same lines as it is with anybody who works for any type of employer, where most people have an annual increase. It's either done by merit or by cost of living. This is the same thing. The only difference is that because it's done through collective bargaining due to it being the police force, the next piece of it is that once we go through the process, it's an extended amount of time that outlines what that increase will look like. This has nothing to do with those other things that are going on. That is separate. Those are things and conversations we have as a council, and more so we can discuss during our budget sessions that will be coming up in the months ahead. But as for tonight, this is merely us performing a duty in which we do on a regular basis with our police officers and ensuring that we are providing all of them their increase as they would, just like as you or anyone who works for an employer. I know myself would expect to see their increase in salary. So please understand and make sure that we know what's happening and not get those things confused. And that's all I have. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Preston.
Thanks, Mayor Pro Tem. I would like to start echoing Ms. Cummings's comments about what it is that we're taking up tonight and what it is not. I share in all of the remarks that she made, and then I would like to take this time too to commend our staff, our administration, as well as the leadership and membership in general of the PBPA Unit 22, our men and women in uniform. This process, as it has in recent years, being able to wrap up in just 2 meetings, about 3 hours total, I think is an excellent testament to the hardworking men and women we have in uniform, to the hardworking and fair and respectful leadership here at the town, and the culture that exists of all of us being able to work together, to respect one another, and ultimately to provide the outstanding public service to the residents and the visitors of Normal. So thank you to staff, as well as to the association for another just exemplary process as we move forward with that. A final note, since it was brought up, Ms. Swan in public comment, again, this agenda item, which is what I assume she was referencing, is not, as Ms. Cummings aptly pointed out, is not at all about defunding the police. I would suggest in response, I don't want to let this go. The reason that the questioning, as Mr. McCarthy mentioned during public comment, the reason that her question was not answered is a matter of process of how public comment works. One of the points being so that public comment from individuals and residents don't just get overtaken by council chiming in all the time, right? And it is our opportunity to listen. We have plenty of other opportunity during meetings to speak. Public comment is one of our opportunities to listen and let others express their views on stuff. So it was a matter of process, and to suggest that which has been standard forever, in about every municipality around here, is an indication of being misled by staff that's just flat out so wrong. I didn't want to let that go without mentioning that there was absolutely nothing but professionalism and accuracy, of course, in outlining the process from staff to the public commenter. A final note from that public commenter, I believe I was mentioned as Scott Peterson, who, if I'm not mistaken, is a convicted murderer up in the Chicagoland area. That is not me, and that is not my name. So if she was referencing me and saying Scott Peterson, I would suggest that she may have the wrong municipality and the wrong role. Thanks.
I'm happy to give you that latitude to clear your name, Mr. Preston. And if you would, please put your hand down. Mr. Nord.
Thank you. I guess in response to the public commenter, Ms. Swan, I agree this is not a conversation about defunding. This is something for paying people more that, in my opinion, have the toughest job in the country right now. So I do applaud our men in blue and women in blue. And I think they do need more support from the silent majority that's out there, public support. As far as this pay raise, in other communities, we've seen businesses fall to looting. And some of those businesses have decided they're not going to reopen. Some have said that they're going to be suing the local municipalities. And I don't think that just a pay raise is all that's needed to kind of fix this problem. Here in Normal, we had our Target store looted. And what I would ask the police to do, or for the council to ask the police to do, is to do some sort of needs assessment and let us know as a council what needs they have. Do they need more training? Do they need more tools? What is it? Because there are residents and businesses that need their confidence restored that our local police officers have the tools and the training that they need to protect everyone here and the visitors that come to our community. So I do support this effort. Thank you.
If I could certainly respond to that, I'd like to hear from the rest of the council. Mr. Nord, you have raised this issue numerous times, and I've responded to your emails as such. The Normal Police Department is very well trained. I've got Chief Bleichner on the call, and we can get into this right now if council wants to talk about, training, rioting, what's happening in cities across the country, building confidence in our businesses. But what's the matter at hand here is the collective bargaining agreement. And so if council wants to talk about the collective bargaining agreement, the proposed agreement that you have before you, we could certainly respond to that. But tell me if you want to talk about rioting and civil unrest, because Chief Bleichner is here ready to address this issue.
Thank you, Ms. Reese. I appreciate the redirection on what the actual topic is tonight. And in the interest of a reasonably focused conversation to attempt to efficiently execute the business in front of us, if I get enough council messages, I'll certainly convey that to the mayor. That will take that up at such time. But I do agree that the many commendations and awards that our police department has have is a strong demonstration of their training. And but for tonight, let's keep the conversation focused on the contract proposal at hand. And if we need, we can have another conversation about the amazing job our police force do and how well trained they are, and all the many challenges that they're faced right now at another time. Ms. Smith.
Yes, I want to echo Mr. Preston's comments about the two sessions that were the only sessions required to come to this agreement. I think that speaks to a level of respect between the force and the town administration, that they were able to successfully negotiate a complete bargaining agreement in such a short period of time. I have been on a member of the bargaining committee for the non-tenure track union at ISU, and I can assure you it was not that collegial. And so to have this speaks to the understanding that as a town, we respect the work that our service people do. It is a very difficult job. I would not want to be placed in a situation where I'm having to deal with passions at pitch fever when I have to get up every day and do that. So I believe that the raises that are included in this collective bargaining agreement are more than earned, and I just want to make sure that our officers in blue understand that I, for one, deeply respect how well they complete a difficult job. Thank you.
Ms. Smith, please. There you go. All right. I thought we had another hand, but I'll go. Breaking with a little bit of protocol here. Some statements were made about the job, and again, I want to keep us fairly on track, but Mr. Bleichner, some comments were made about the police force. I'll give you an opportunity to respond if you feel like there's something that you want to say in response.
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you talking about the comments from Councilman Nord, or are you talking about the collective bargaining?
Absolutely. The comments from Mr. Nord about training and the off-topic comments. If there was anything, since that was made felt appropriate to give you an opportunity to address those if you feel.
No, I mean, I think, again, it was mentioned, I think we had a council meeting the night following the Target incident, and it was certainly said that if there was an opportunity and council felt necessary, we would come back and share what information we could. We could certainly do that in a public setting. We could also share that offline. I can tell you I've had a lot of comments since that time. A lot of it focused on what happened that night at Target, but I can tell you there was a lot of hard work that came after the fact. There were a lot of other incidents that were prevented because of the work that staff did. And I can also say that there's been a lot made on both sides about, staff leaving the Target store, or staff should have stayed at the Target store. And I can tell you that that's hopefully just misinformed from people that weren't there, because we were there attempting to do everything we could. Staff that was standing there on those lines, we were able to do a pretty quick assessment of what was going on at that time and the amount of force that the situation would require to attempt to overcome what was going on there. And I can tell you that it would have been substantial, in my opinion.
And you were there, Chief. So
yeah,
just
there.
To make that clear, you were on site. So
yeah, and in my opinion, and I think in the other officer's opinion, it would have posed that action would have posed a serious risk to staff, would have posed injury and potentially death to either officers or the public. And so given that choice of defending property over life, it was a relatively easy decision on my part. And I chose the life and safety of the town's staff and also that of the public over the defense of property. And so at that point, regardless of whether, like I said, it would have caused, in my opinion, some significant injuries, potential risk to staff or to the public. And so in that particular instance, it made sense. We were not able to hold that any longer.
Chief, if I could jump in and interrupt before we get into too much detail about that. I will say that every major incident, but public safety related, regarding law enforcement as well as fire department, those incidences are critiqued. Would things potentially be slightly different next time? Potentially. I can't tell you that we have regrets on how that situation was handled or how any of the week or days following that were handled. I think a lot of things went very well. And the takeaway, I think, for council, if you want to tell the story of the Normal Police Department, then tell the story of all the arrests that have been made and how people are held accountable for their actions that night. So.
Thank you both. Oh, Chief, go ahead.
No, I was just saying that was it. And again, that particular evening, it was a simple choice of the life and safety of staff and the public versus the property. And so that choice, we determined that the life and safety of staff and the public certainly was paramount. And so again, yeah, we did certainly follow up after that. We have made almost 40 plus arrests in relation to that. And I can tell you that a lot of the actions that were done in following nights with cooperation from local agencies, our state partners and county partners, it was all from learning what occurred in that particular night and modifying our plans as we needed to. So there were a lot of other options. There are a lot of other things that happened that were certainly prevented because of things that we've learned all along the way during that time.
Thank you, Chief. And so we struggle when we get too far off topic from these meetings. And so I'm going to be even more stringent than I've been to this moment in time on this topic. So I have a couple more hands. Mr. Nord.
Yes, thank you, Chief, for the response. I hope you didn't take this as a criticism, but more as a recommendation that if you need tools for training,
Mr. Nord, you have a comment?
Now is a good time to ask, or in the future.
Do you have
because there's a lot of support behind the police right now.
No comment about the proposal, Mr. Nord? All right. Please lower your hand, Mr. Nord. Mr. Preston.
Yeah, mine will be real quick. Just since Chief Bleichner addressed us, I thought I'd take the opportunity to address him personally back and say thank you, Chief, to you and the entire force for a tremendous job that you guys do. A very difficult job that is only been, I can imagine, more difficult in recent months. And thank you for all of you guys, what you do in serving our community.
And Mr. Preston, if you would lower your hand, thank you. I guess I'll weigh in on this in a brief comment on the contract. Echoing some of the comments by my other counterparts that this is about contract. It's not about the politically charged defund topic that is passionately being batted around the nation and our community. And this is simply acknowledging the great work that our police force do and the tremendous task and challenge that's ahead of them right now. I think it's actually a very modest increase given the challenge that our police force face, and I'm fully supporting of this. Please call the roll.
Ms. Cummings,
Aye.
Mr. Nord,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Mrs. Lorenz,
Aye.
Mr. Preston,
Aye.
Mr. McCarthy.
Aye, and the motion carries. And that brings us to our general orders this evening. And the first item on the agenda is an ordinance rezoning property in the town of Normal, 101 East Vernon, 605 South Linden, and 607 South Linden.
Move this item.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion?
Mayor Pro Tem, I will just introduce that these two items are really connected. Item 7 and 8 both pertain to the Illinois Art Station. I've asked Greg Trummel and Mercy Davison to be on this call to answer any questions that council may have. We also have the Illinois Art Station representatives on the call in case council has questions. The first item on the agenda pertains to the rezoning of the 3 parcels that are now under the ownership of the Illinois Art Station Foundation. And should council approve the rezoning, then the following item pertains to the site plan. So in regard to conversation, it might be best if we just talk about both of them at the same time, but council can take action independently.
Agreed. Ms. Lorenz.
There I am, unmuted. Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. Yeah, I want to just echo a general sentiment of wholehearted support and hope my colleagues join me on this. This is a very unique piece of property and a very ideal location for something as special and unique as what the Illinois Art Station is bringing. I know that the previous owners bought this property with the hope of being able to do and see it to some sort of special use. And I think this is certainly a dream come true, I would think, for them, that this very lovely sanctuary of a space so close to town, so close to the trail, close to many transportation avenues, will be utilized for something so worthy as this Illinois Art Station. And my hat is off to the foundation and their board of directors for this vision. And I wish them all the success in the world. So thank you, and my wholehearted support.
Ms. Smith.
Thank you. Struggling with the microphone there, eh? I would ask for some clarification from either Greg Trummel or Mercy Davison. There was one letter from someone speaking in opposition to the zoning change, and that individual mentioned several concerns he had about the S1 and offered some others. Could you, are you familiar with that letter that you can speak to some of the comments he made and provide some clarity?
Sure, yes. The letter came from a neighbor who lives over on Broadway, and he had mentioned in his letter that he had concerns about S2 zoning, which is what we have for public uses, whether they're owned by the public or they have a public, something in their nature is public oriented, such as Illinois Art Station. I wasn't 100% clear in his email if he thought that it would be better if the property would be zoned to a different commercial type in this location, or if it would be better if Illinois Art Station would find another kind of commercial zoning somewhere else. I would say that for this location specifically, the S2 zoning, in our opinion, offers the most, it's the most conservative. It provides the most amount of public input anytime, you know, requires a site plan, which isn't the case for all of those other zoning classifications. And a site plan is the opportunity for the public to have quite a bit of input. That's the case for the initial development of the site, and then if it changed in any significant way. So we're certainly comfortable with the S2 zoning.
And the neighbor on the corner of Vernon and Linden actually endorsed this change. The change in zoning is only for the lots that will be used by the Illinois Art Station, correct? And that corner piece will retain its residential zoning?
That's correct.
Okay. And there was also some indication from the maps that portions of this are in the floodplain. Does that present any complications for what the plans that Illinois Art Station has put forth?
Most of the floodplain is on the south end of all of the property towards the creek. And where they're proposing to do most of the development is up on the north end near Vernon, so none of that is affected. The area down near 605 and 607 South Linden, part of that is in the floodplain, and that's the sort of thing that just requires a different type of design, and it gets reviewed by the engineering department. And our engineers are completely comfortable with what they're proposing. So it does introduce a different level of review, but it's pretty technical, and it's something that can be addressed.
And the circle driveway that is envisioned for the structure to be used as the primary building for Illinois Art Station, that will access Vernon and not Linden. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And in your review, did you see any complications of the location of that driveway in relationship to the intersection of Vernon and Linden, and or the Constitution Trail crossing Vernon nearby?
Yeah, that's a good question. And we talked about that immediately. And that's why the Illinois Art Station had an independent licensed engineer perform what's called a site distance analysis. And that is precisely to address concerns with nearby intersections. It takes into account the speed of the traffic, where the eye level of the driver is, who you would anticipate coming from which direction, and making sure there are no obstructions. So that analysis was done, and it came out that it shouldn't be an issue from an engineering design perspective. So we're satisfied with that.
And then this question might be best directed to the representatives of the Illinois Art Station, but I understand that there, on that circle driveway, there will be one ADA handicap parking space. Can someone from the Illinois Art Station address how patrons of their service actually are going to gain transportation to that? Are they transported by individual car? Are they more commonly bussed in to ensure that one ADA space is sufficient?
We do have Illinois Art Station folks on the call, including the architect Kyle Glandon, Dr. Laura Burke, and Laura Jaster, the executive director. So I will ask one or all of them, whomever wants to field that call, to unmute themselves and share your thoughts on that.
Hello, I'm Laura Burke, and I'm the president of the Illinois Art Station Foundation. So the question is, will there be one or at least one handicap parking space? And yes, absolutely, there will be one or possibly more than one on the circle. The circle is really its main purpose is to facilitate individuals with disabilities or parents with small children to be able to um, uh, bring their children right to the door of Illinois Art Station. And as for how visitors, patrons, children and youth will get to the Illinois Art Station, it will be in part by private car. There will be opportunities for school visits. So a smaller size school visit a bus would be appropriate to bring on to the circle. It may be by public transportation because there's a nearby bus stop. And, I, of course, think that the art station and its key staff, Laura Jaster, our executive director, will be thinking very carefully about how we will facilitate the transport of children from the various neighborhoods to Illinois Art Station. Right now, we do all outreach to children with needs who are at risk or who are underserved with art education, but we'll want children from all communities in Normal and in Bloomington to be able to come to the art station and its property and to experience all that it will have to offer there. We think most of the traffic will go around to the Linden parking lot, which is the plan is to have 13 spaces there, and there will be a walkway across the property to the art station, two possible ways, up to the front entrance or into an entrance on the south of the facility. So I hope that answers your question, Council.
Yes, thank you for that clarification. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Mr. Preston.
Thanks. I would just like to say that this project is going to be an outstanding addition to our community. I think that this is going to serve a niche and provide just quite a unique and incredibly valuable quality of life addition to Normal and to the community at large. And the focus, Dr. Burke, I know you'd mentioned it a little bit just a minute ago, but if you don't mind, for public education for anybody watching who does not know, the Illinois Art Station having a focus on providing access to hands-on visual arts education for children and teens with a focus on reaching underserved and at-risk youth. I just think that's incredible. As an added bonus, being able to preserve the historic grounds there with the property on Vernon. I just think this is a win all the way around. So Dr. Burke, to the Freese family and everybody else associated with this Illinois Art Station project, thank you for following through on your vision and for bringing it to the community here. I'm excited to support it.
Well, thank you. We very much appreciate your supportive comments. They're absolutely moving to us. So we're just delighted to bring this to Normal. And I wanted to add one more thing, that the Illinois Art Station will be accessible from the trail. And you've been speaking about wellness this evening. So individuals will be able to get there right from taking the Constitution Trail to the Illinois Art Station. So.
All right. Mr. Preston, if you'll lower your hand, thank you. Mr. Nord. And thanks for lowering your hand, Mr. Nord.
Thank you. So we'll be taking a couple property tax generating properties, and my assumption, which I'd like Ms. or Dr. Burke, if you could answer, is this property then going to be made, you guys going to file for tax exemption? Is this property no longer going to be taxable?
Mr. Nord, I failed it. Hang on, I apologize for interrupting. Mr. Nord, I'm struggling to see how property tax has anything to do with the ordinance zoning property of the town of Normal or approving a site plan.
Because
those are the two agenda items.
Potentially, this can be a significant taxpayer investment. Ms. Reese has mentioned to us that she's been negotiating.
Point of order. I feel like this is a private deal that is her business.
This property tax has nothing to do with the zoning.
Well,
it has to do with a site plan.
I disagree with that and with some of the other questions that I had. So I'll skip the property tax question. I mean, I assume the write-up says that they're tax exempt, so I assume that's going to follow, and we should be making our decisions completely openly and transparently as well. Now, with this project, is there a requirement that the town taxpayers need to maintain, or will they have any financial involvement on this property going forward?
Ms. Reese.
I'm sorry, you had asked me that question earlier, and I shared with you that, as you know, I've been having conversations with Dr. Burke and her team for quite some time. We have had draft discussions. We don't have anything finalized in terms of details, but certainly we've talked about training in the single-family properties along Linden for public safety training. The town would then raise those properties, demolish them. So is there going to be public investment? Yes. I've shared that with you when we get to the point of doing some public safety training. Beyond that, we continue to have conversations about how we can partner in the future. And I think we're having great conversations. Do I have anything permanent or final to share with you at this point? No, I don't.
So with this public investment, do you have an estimate as to how much it's going to cost taxpayers up front and then on an annual basis?
Again, Mr. Nord.
Regarding training, there is no, I can't respond to
regarding anything with this property, whether it's maintenance of the grounds, of the building, of anything.
Mr. Nord, Ms. Reese just answered that question, that there's no agreement for any kind of investment other than some fire safety, police safety training inside buildings. And then, of course, since we get to use them, we would knock them down. So that's
I would like to ask Dr. Burke. Dr. Burke, if taxpayers do not agree to maintain this property or any long-term financial commitment, will that cause a problem for you and your group?
Point of order, we're talking about rezoning a property right now. And I want to make sure we're staying on track because that doesn't sound relevant to me.
Agreed.
I just think that we're being asked to make a decision without being provided
do you have any other
the
questions
full
relate to zoning?
Mayor Pro Tem, if I could add, and perhaps Corporation Counsel Brian Day can get ready to respond to some of these issues, but the issue at hand is rezoning. After the question of council that you need to decide is, do you agree that S2 is an appropriate land use, an appropriate kind of zoning for this space? If so, we ask council to approve the zoning. After that is the site plan, and council is asked to address whether or not you believe the Illinois Art Station's plan is acceptable to you. Does it match what you would expect in the S2 area? And that's the issue at hand right now. How the property is maintained in the future, if there ever is a future agreement between the two parties, that's not the issue at hand. Mr. Day, I think you can probably, supplement my comments, but just trying to get council redirected to the rezoning and the site plan matter right now.
Absolutely. Mr. Day?
Mrs. Reese was correct that these two issues are entirely independent of any cooperation by the town, and they're not contingent on any agreement that the town may or may not ultimately reach with the Illinois Art Station.
So before we go on, I'm going to call a vote here in a second. But Mr. Nord, I've repeatedly asked you to stay on topic. Please follow the rules of the meeting. Please call the roll.
Mr. Nord,
You know, my answer would have been yes, but now it's no.
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Mrs. Lorenz,
Aye.
Mr. Preston,
Aye.
Ms. Cummings,
Aye.
Mr. McCarthy.
Aye. And motion carries. Which brings us to the second version of this, or second portion of this, is a resolution approving a site plan for the Illinois Art Station, 101 East Vernon, 605 South Linden, and 607 South Linden.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments beyond what we've heard? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Mrs. Lorenz,
Aye.
Mr. Preston,
Aye.
Ms. Cummings,
Aye.
Mr. Nord,
Aye.
Mr. McCarthy.
And aye. And the motion carries, which brings us to item 9, an ordinance vacating an easement on lot 7 of the re-subdivision of lot 2 in the first addition to Eagles Landing Commercial Subdivision, otherwise known as 1290 Healing Stone. So a motion?
Approval.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any comments? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Mrs. Lorenz,
Aye.
Mr. Preston,
Aye.
Ms. Cummings,
Aye.
Mr. Nord,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. McCarthy.
Aye. And the motion carries. Which brings us to item 10, a resolution conditionally approving an amended final development plan for the shop at College Hills Mall, PUD, otherwise known as Crunch Fitness at 301 Veterans Parkway.
Move approval.
Second.
A motion and a second. And I see Ms. Smith's hand up. Ms. Smith.
Yes. I would appreciate it if the town staff could provide some background on the recommendation that they've made, because I understand that the business went before the Planning Commission with their proposal, and the Planning Commission was not in favor of their color choice and the size, and the staff has, in keeping consistency with the Planning Commission, has presented this to council in the same format as the Planning Commission approved it. So if we could please get some clarification of the current status of what the Planning Commission is advancing to the council to vote on. And then I would like to hear from a representative from Crunch Fitness about their preference.
Sure. If I could jump in, I did ask Ms. Davison and Mr. Termel to be prepared to explain, kind of give some background on how we got to this point. It is a little bit of a convoluted process, but Ms. Davison is going to summarize, or Mr. Termel will summarize what the Planning Commission addressed and is recommending. And you are correct. The resolution that's before you this evening does mirror what the Planning Commission recommended to you. What we have, though, is some additional action and information to provide to you that occurred post planning commission. And so that will be the topic of discussion. So Ms. Davison, I believe, is going to frame this up. And then we do have representatives from Crunch Fitness on the call as well, who will also share some information with you. So we're going to start with Ms. Davison.
Sure. So the proposal, as you know, is to reoccupy a big portion of the former Hobby Lobby building to convert it into a fitness club. That involves a lot of remodeling on the inside. The outside of the building, they're going to be converting some of the brick to EFIS. They're going to cover it up, paint it all kind of a gray color. They're resurfacing the parking lot on the west side of the building and adding landscaping to meet code. And then, of course, they have a sign package, which is not surprising. And really, the item of discussion was always the sign package. Everything else is great. So the sign package, as proposed originally, there's two identical signs being proposed. One is on the west side of the building facing Distill. The other is on the southeast kind of angled part of the building that's somewhat visible from veterans. Their original proposal was it's a sign that's like the word crunch with their logo built in, and then the word fitness. Together, those are somewhere just under 500 square feet. And then they were going to paint a background color that was close to 1,000 square feet, just kind of in the middle of the west side of the building. So in our original recommendation to the Planning Commission, we have to look at the sign package that is specific to the shops at College Hills. So I guess that's the first point, is that the regular sign code does not apply inside of this PUD because it has its own approved sign package. And as we mentioned in the report, that approved sign package is not really specific. It doesn't say like everyone gets a certain number of square feet. So really what we can do, and what we've done for years at the shops, is just look at the sign packages that are out there, and you can see that they're all relatively small. The biggest buildings out there would be Von Maur and Target, and their signs are 150, 125 square feet. The new Hobby Lobby location is a little bigger. It's got a 200 square foot sign. So we just looked around at the context, and it was kind of hard to argue that signs that are close to 500 square feet would be considered to fit into that overall scheme. The orange background, the issue wasn't so much the color orange, it was just that the manner in which it was proposed just served, in our opinion, to just make the sign even bigger. So then you're looking at a sign, if you take the orange background into account, it's a little closer to like 1,000 square feet. So we went into the Planning Commission recommending that you just make the sign smaller, 200 square feet, get rid of the orange background, and it would just really fit into everything else that's going on out there. The Planning Commission conversation kind of went back and forth. Some commissioners were more worried about the color. Some were just focused on the size. What they ended up recommending was limiting the size of the sign to 350 square feet, which Crunch had mentioned they've done before. So 350 square feet, but they wanted to keep the orange background. The Planning Commission just voted to limit the size to 350 square feet and no orange color. So after that, we met with the developer like the next day, which is not uncommon, and talked about, how is this going to move forward to the council? Could we find some new iteration of this? And they came up with a plan to kind of tie that orange into the rest of the building, so it didn't just serve as kind of a billboard appearance. They did a nice job. They put in an accent stripe. They added a couple of columns. So that really took out the issue of the sign appearing to be like 1,000 square feet. But they definitely want to maintain their 350 square feet, and they'll speak to that. So the orange, no longer an issue, but staff, again, given the context of the rest of the signs within this PUD, we just continue to recommend that their signs be smaller to be more in keeping with what's out there, which is more like 200 square feet. And that's even kind of on the bigger end of that range, but we're comfortable with that. So, but I know they have more to say about that as well.
If I could ask, you're using sign, but at times, are you referring to their logo and the Crunch Fitness as sign while simultaneously also referencing the orange background as sign? So when you are saying sign and 250 and the 325, what are you specifically targeting?
So at this point, what we're talking about, when it comes to the actual sign, at this point, it's the Crunch Fitness words with the logo, all that together. We're recommending that be 200 square feet. The orange background has now kind of been built into the storefront. We're not even talking about that anymore. It's just the size of the actual signs.
But given that the Planning Commission did not approve the orange background, in order for Crunch Fitness to be able to have that orange background, we do have to amend the motion as it's presented to us tonight.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Okay. And Mr. Cohen, I believe you're the representative for Crunch Fitness. How married to that same background orange and logo on both the western side and the southeast side are you? Because I happen to live near here and was driving by it, and I noticed on the not over the direct entrance, the tenants in this shopping center tend to have just their logo elsewhere on the building. So how important is it to you as your corporate identity to have that matching representation of background color and logo at both the western facade and the southeast corner?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Ms. Smith. And hello, everyone. I'm Kyle Cowan. I'm the development partner with Crunch Fitness, and Brian Hibbert is also on Fitness Ventures, the tenant. To your question specifically, Ms. Smith, it's extremely important. We have the same Crunch hand and fitness at all 14 of his other locations. This will be location number 15, so it's at every single other location. With regard to the signage, and I can get into the whole history and all of this, but with regard to the signage specifically, we did us down to 350 square feet and from 500, and the Planning Commission was agreed with that. I think one of the reasons the orange discussion went away was because I think the main Planning Commission concern with the color orange was the Distill restaurant and proximity to them. We wanted to be respectful to our neighbors and to the spirit of the development and make sure everybody. So we reached out to Matt Potts directly, the owner of Distill, and got him to send an email in favor of the color orange, and the signage package is presented with 350 square feet. So that was their only concern with the color orange. So maybe that's one of the reasons that moved on. With regard to signage and the square footage, proportionality really needs to be taken into account. It's to say Hobby Lobby has a 200 square foot sign about, and we should be able to have a 200 square foot sign. Into account that the Hobby Lobby frontage is about 100 feet compared to 300 feet for our building. And so I think proportionality is really important. If you look at one of the pages of the presentation, you will notice that if this building was in an area that was governed by the general City of Normal signage code, which I recognize it's not, but if it were, with 300 feet of frontage, we'd be allowed a 15-foot sign, both logo and letters, which would be, upwards of 500 or 600 square feet. Mercy, you can make sure I'm speaking correctly regarding other areas. So we reduced it significantly compared to the City of Normal code, recognizing that doesn't govern here. But we would really ask, we believe the 350 square feet takes into account the proportionality of a ginormous 300-foot facade breaking up. And while it may sound large, the new Target design has 1,600 to 1,700 square feet of red compared to our orange only being just over 900 square feet. So it's half the red of Target with the same total frontage. Our logo is about the same size as the Target logo. We just have fitness as well. The height is actually smaller. If you take the height of Crunch Fitness, is smaller than the Crunch logo. We just have the fitness letters in addition.
Well, so, but to referencing the Target comparison, does Target, and pardon me for interrupting you, but does the Target red background with the sign, is that displayed in two locations on the Target structure?
It is not, but they are facing the primary direction. In our defense, we are, and that's if I were to zoom out and talk about the development as a whole. You guys know that this building has been vacant for a long time. It has a lot of challenges. It's an 85,000 square foot, very odd shaped building. It's very difficult to redevelop and come up with a leasing plan that makes sense. Crunch Fitness has come up with a solution for this by taking the interior rear space and filling around, creating a leasable space. And so while this may seem like it doesn't apply to the signage package, to get a tenant to take an inferior space rear of the center, numbers makes very old that needs, you know, $1 million roof replacement and extreme redevelopment, apply with the landscaping islands and the repaving lot, and bringing this to a presentation that brings pride to the development in the city of Normal, we have to make something that's satisfactory to a business to come. And that's what Brian, as owner of Crunch Fitness, can speak to, of Fitness Ventures, the tenant. He has a board that has to approve the development. It took months and months to get them comfortable to take the rear of the building. And the signage package is really part of that. And so if we reduce it to 200 square feet, smaller than they've done anywhere else, we appreciate getting there on the orange. That helps. But if we go down to an extremely small sign, we go back to the board, we redesign everything, we miss end of year for the redevelopment, the whole thing may start to come unraveled. And so it's really important, the size of the signage. And I do want to say the city, Greg, Mercy, phenomenal to work with, all the council members. I was able to connect with most of y'all. Y'all been phenomenal. We really appreciate the city of Normal and are excited to bring a business here and pour millions and millions into this building. We believe the 350 square feet is a really small ask and compromise with us having come down on size just to come up a little bit. And we'd ask that y'all would vote on the orange on both and the 350 square feet that the Planning Commission approved.
And if I could, are you comfortable sharing just how long of a time commitment you're making to this space?
Yeah, Brian, I don't know if you want to share any additional comments, but it's a 15-year lease. And them taking the rear of the building, well, not to lose sight, we don't have the adjacent tenant yet because we're in a pandemic. Retailers are struggling, as you know, and retail's changing. But we're creating a 37,000 square foot space facing veterans with prime frontage that will appeal when we come out of this pandemic. Hopefully it'll appeal to the Burlington coat factories of the world, and the retailers are still doing really well and expanding and getting them in the center. And so I think it's going to be great all around. And if the changes in retail, this building could be vacant for 5 to 10 more years if we don't get this done. I mean, it could convert to self-storage or who knows, because there's just not many 85,000 square foot retail or even 30 to 40,000 square foot retailers. And so I think we should do everything we can to make the plan work for Crunch, where we have a lease in place contingent on the signage package.
And time-wise, you're shooting to get those January 1 New Year's resolutions people to sign up and come to your club and be ready for them at that point, correct?
That's right. For those that care, about 40% of members are added in January and February of fitness centers because, you know, they think they're going to work out and get in shape. And we want them to. We want to keep them. But yeah, most of those memberships are signed up in that time. So we would provide a full construction schedule. The goal would be opening middle of December.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Ms. Cummings.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I think maybe you covered the last of most of my questions. I heard you mention, which was one of the questions I wanted to hit on, was the proportions. So you said that the current spacing overall is 500 square feet. Oh, excuse me, 900 square feet.
The total orange is 900 and I got my notes here, 944 square feet of total orange. And then the signage itself is 300 feet. And what's probably most important is the height of the letters when you consider proportionality. Total size of the sign. I'm not an architect. We hired architects to do it. The architects we hired was Shive Hattery, who in charge of the demauling in this whole development. They've been for decades in this project and know it better than us. And it was their recommendation on the sign design. And so, yeah, so I think height, and Brian, you may have exactly what the height of those letters are, say 9 feet, as opposed to the 15 that would be allowed elsewhere is what they are with the 350 square foot of signage.
Okay. And then another question, and this might lead to another question, just depends on what answer I receive. So is each Crunch Fitness independently owned by different?
Yeah, so yeah, there are franchisees, yes. So Brian owns Fitness Ventures, which is one of the largest, fastest growing Crunch Fitness franchisees. This will be location number 15. Crunch, and just to give a little bit of who Crunch Fitness is. So Crunch Fitness has 300 locations nationwide, and Fitness Ventures, this will be his 15th. Fitness Ventures actually loves markets just like Normal, Illinois, college markets, 100 to 200,000 people, limited competition. Your marketing dollars can go really, really far in a market this size because there's excitement and energy when something great and first class comes into town as opposed to a big metroplex. And so Crunch Fitness believes in fitness to improve lives. They know exercise is hard work, and they want to make it fun and difficult fitness to be fun for everybody. So that's who Crunch is. So long-winded answer, but he's one of the largest franchisees of a parent company that they're a franchisee for.
Yep, and I think that will take care of the questions that I had. Thank you.
Mr. Preston.
Thanks. So as we're talking about proportion of the signage, so we've been comparing it to the current Target sign that's out front, and that signage in that red that runs across the front of Target's facade it became part of that property last year during their big remodel at some point in 2019, if I'm not mistaken. Prior to that, well, they didn't have the red. They also had the word Target in large signing in addition to the logo. I don't know if this is a question for staff or what, but what was the size of Target's previous logo when it had the actual words written out as well?
Great question, Mr. Preston. I'll take a stab at it. Because again, I think, the capital T and then the smaller letters to spell out Target. I would venture to say it was probably between 250 and 300 square feet, notwithstanding the circle ball logo, which is what's currently out there is 169 feet.
Okay.
And it had both. It had Target
right.
and the logo. So combined,
and the logo, yeah.
Combined more than 350 square feet. Would you agree with that, Greg? What they have.
Again, as part of that remodel, then as you mentioned, Mr. Preston, the Target word went away, relying on the emblem as their national symbol. But then they also had what's becoming more and more prevalent is the in-store pickup signage, smaller area. Is another 40 or 50 square feet down to the right of that. So.
Okay. But okay. So roughly, it sounds like their previous logo was probably comparable letter size, give or take, to what Crunch is now proposing, and kind of their accommodation from the original 500 square foot proposal down to 350. The 350 letters you think would be somewhat comparable to what Target's
pretty comparable. Yep, probably pretty comparable. But again, on one face.
Sure. Yep. Okay. Thank you. I don't have. First of all, thank you, and not another question for staff, but a comment now. Thanks to the Planning Commission, they always do a very thorough job looking at things and really getting into the details of items, so I don't want to suggest anything other than that. I do very much value the jobs that our planning commissioners do and take very seriously. In light of that, in this instance, I don't have any issue, and frankly, I don't see the case for any issue with the orange background and the 350 square foot logo and letters. That would require an amendment as this is presented to us tonight, but that is kind of the accommodation that the representatives at Crunch have now proposed after going through this process. I think that especially for the size of the building and the total length of the property that we're discussing, I think it's appropriate, and I do not think that it is something that would be out of place, all those things considered. So I would be in support of the orange as they propose orange background and the 350 square foot limit for their logo and signage with Crunch Fitness. Thanks.
Ms. Lorenz.
Hey, thank you. I also want to build upon what Mr. Preston said, insofar as my support for the compromised 350. I was encouraged by the fact that I sensed from the planning commission process and the discussion that happened afterwards that there was a willingness to compromise. And I think that that's to be recognized and noted as a positive. So I appreciate that. I do have a question. Is one of your locations, Mr. Hibbard, in Tuscaloosa, Alabama?
Yeah, I appreciate everybody. Yes, it is. Yeah, we own the one in Tuscaloosa. The one in Tuscaloosa has an extremely large sign.
Is that right? Well, I was just recently past it, and it fits the building, and it is a freestanding building. It's just not part of a development like a PUD. But I just was recently past it, and you know, it's definitely your style, and I think that. In my opinion, as government, I don't want to get into the business of marketing and telling businesses what to do. I want to be grateful that you find our place attractive to put a business, and I am confident that our staff has worked well with you on that. And I think as a result of that, you know, we see the process has resulted in a very productive compromise here. And so I do feel comfortable with that. The old planning commissioner in me, you know, is a little squeamish that I know PUDs are built with an idea for some uniformity and some aesthetic purposes to make everything kind of look like it was meant to be there. And I appreciate staff wanting to maintain some integrity around that. However, I am also aware of the fact that, like you said, this 80-some thousand square foot building, it's not in the greatest of shape. We've got an interested, you know, developer here. And malls in general, even lifestyle malls like this one, you know, 10, 15 years ago was, I guess it's probably been closer to 15 years ago, was remodeled from the traditional indoor to now this outdoor lifestyle mall. Even those are going through a renaissance, right? Or not a renaissance, an evolution, really. We don't know, you know. And so what might have been a sign package that worked 15 or 16 years ago, when all very traditional retail stores were a part of it, I think we have to be open to the fact that these places, these malls, are evolving in purpose. And it does seem like many of them are becoming home to fitness centers. So the large one floor, tall ceilings, you know, environment must be a good fit for fitness centers. So I think as a community, and certainly to the planners, we just need to be watching what's happening with how malls are being purposed and repurposed. And if that means going back and revisiting our PUD sign package, maybe at some point we have to do that. But the planning commission process is an excellent way to really vet and make sure that whoever does come through looks at the situation, is willing to compromise, we can compromise and bring business to our community. So I think that's really what's happened here. And I think that's to be noted and applauded for both the developer and our staff. And I too would like to support the 350 compromised version of this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna.
Thank you for your comments. Appreciate that.
I've got a couple of questions for staff on this. Kind of reading the comments so far, and knowing that there's some amount of ambiguity in the sign package for the PUD and that normal sign code doesn't apply here. Can you guys speak a little bit to assuming a 350 went forward, for instance? I'm giving you a hypothetical. Talk to us about the job of what happens to design standards in the PUD for the next person who applies, or the person who comes back, or the store owner who comes back and says, hey, wait a minute, I was told one thing. And talk to us a little bit about how that impacts precedent, how that impacts enforcement and attracting future tenants.
I'll take a stab at that, Mr. McCarthy. So as Mercy mentioned in her comments, we just feel as staff, it's our responsibility to kind of honor the context in which this development was approved. I think Ms. Lorenz already mentioned, this is actually 15 years old now. This started in 2005. And so, and at that time, Cullinan was the developer, and they established essentially this sign package. You know, the town didn't say, here are your limits, put a package together. They, as the property redeveloper, established a sign package. And quite honestly, for the first 6 or 7 years, as stores redeveloped and new facades opened, our position was have your developer sign off on your sign package, and then you're fine. Certainly, 2009 and 10 changed the world in a lot of different ways, and then things went a little bit idle, and we've experienced this type of situation even at Constitution Trail Center, where again they were rolling along. You know, the recession hit and really kind of changed the game plan. And if you can recall, the Sky Zone project was another good example where it started to deviate pretty significantly from the architectural style that was in the originally approved PUD. And so, again, not to sound defensive, but I think Mercy and I will continue to take kind of the more conservative approach of how a project was approved. Mm-hmm. And then certainly the council has, you're the decision makers to modify. So to answer your question, I'm not sure there's a really good way where we would go in and modify the sign package, because again, it was proposed by the developer originally, and of course that's changed. It's fractured a little bit now. And there's different ownerships. Cullinan is no longer involved as the ownership, and so we have to be nimble and we have to adjust. And I think this is a good example of how that works.
Thank you for the history. I appreciate you weighing in on that. I'm going to kind of take a privilege of chair here, and reading the comment so far, it seems like we're moving in a particular direction, unless there's something new. I know we've got a couple of hands up if there's something new. Ms. Smith?
Nothing new. I just thought Mr. Preston had a pretty good summary of the form of an amendment that would incorporate the wishes of the developer, consistent with some compromises reached in discussions with staff, and including the orange. So I don't know if we need to have him repeat that, and do we vote first to decline this original motion or simply amend this?
Let's go to the attorney for process, parliamentarian for process. Mr. Day.
Thank you. If I could, not to step on anybody's toes, but just suggest a possible amendment that we do what I believe council is looking at doing. And that would be for somebody to make a motion to amend section 2 of the resolution to state that the final development plan is approved with the modified sign package submitted by the developer.
I would so move that.
And I would second that.
And to be clear, that includes the orange and the 350.
Correct.
Just for clarity.
And the stripe. And the stripe.
Of course. All right. So I've got a bunch of hands up. I'm assuming your hands are going
and the
down.
pillars too, right? So it's the whole package. Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. Please call the roll.
Mr. Preston.
Aye.
Ms. Cummings.
Aye.
Mr. Nord.
Aye.
Ms. Smith.
Aye.
Mrs. Lorenz.
Aye.
Mr. McCarthy.
Aye, and the motion carries. And I'd just like to say, gentlemen, welcome to the community. We wish you the best of luck. Thank you for investing with us.
If I may, Mr. Chair, that was a vote to approve the motion to amend. We still need a motion to approve the underlying.
Thank you for keeping me honest, Mr. Day. I appreciate that. So now we're going to take up the original proposed resolution conditionally approving the amended final development plan for the shops at Collegeville PUD, given the amendment that just passed. Please call the roll.
Can I have a motion, please, Mr. McCarthy?
Excuse me?
So
I'll move
moved.
that.
Motion.
Ms.
is second.
Cummings,
Aye.
Mr. Nord,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Mrs. Lorenz,
Aye.
Mr. Preston,
Aye.
Mr. McCarthy.
Aye. Notwithstanding getting tangled up in parliamentary process, gentlemen, welcome to the community again. We appreciate you coming and investing with us in the community, which Mr. Hibbert, we wish you a lot of success going forward. We're looking forward to you being here.
Yeah, I appreciate. Yeah, let me just say I appreciate everything, man. You guys have been great to work with, and we are really excited to be coming to the market. Can't wait to get open for you guys.
Excellent. Thanks.
Amazing what can happen when you don't mistakenly refer to a council member by a murderer's name. So
Lesson learned. Yeah, thanks.
Before entertaining a motion to adjourn, other council comments or concerns? Ms. Smith, is your hand still up or it's up again?
This is new. I received a notice from the NAACP today alerting members and interested members of the public that on August 23rd from 5 until 6, they are holding an informational meeting about their strategic action plan. And they will also be distributing face masks and hand sanitizers. And they expect to have over 4,000 face masks and plenty of hand sanitizers. And with all of the efforts to keep the pandemic in check and prevent community spread, this would be an opportunity for individuals who might be burdened by the price of acquiring these items. This would be a wonderful opportunity to benefit from their largesse. So that is again on Sunday, August 23rd from 5 to 6 at the Mount Pisgah Baptist Church. Thank you. You're muted, Kevin.
Yeah. Mayor Pro Tem, you're muted. Thanks.
Thank you. I'd just like to, before entertaining a motion, remind everybody that we have students back in the community. And although it's a very, very different time for our students to be back in our community, we welcome them all the same. And I know all of us are hoping and wishing students good success here in our community and a safe semester, safe ability to continue to learn and grow as the ISU mission notes. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Oh, excuse me. Apparently Mr. Nord raised his hand at the last second there. Mr. Nord.
Okay, thank you. Just a public service announcement. As the public commenter had mentioned, on August 30th at GE Park, there's a Back the Blue event that's open to the public. That's August 30th at 2 p.m. Thank you.
Do I have a motion?
Motion, so moved.
Second.
All in favor? Please call the roll. I'm just joking, Angie.